Good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacob Green, and thank you for watching. Today, I will be discussing 5 spiritual habits that changed my life. For context, my spiritual journey began in the summer of 2023 when my mom and I took a cross-country road trip to Florida where she was moving. And I came across a tarot reading on TikTok that I deeply resonated with at the time. It was saying a lot of things that I was feeling and thinking inside, but that I never said out loud. And from then, I just kept listening to the tarot readings, and I started randomly writing poetry and listening to different kinds of music. And slowly but surely, spirituality consumed my life in the best way possible. Tip number 1. My first spiritual habit that I had developed is daily journaling. Journaling daily is obviously important for anyone, but I think when you're spiritual, you're really able to connect to your divine self more. And I think it's important, even if you don't have specific thoughts or concerns on your mind, to just get out the pen and paper or a pencil and free write. Whatever comes to mind, whatever goes onto the page, it's just a nice way to dump your energy, to clear it out, and to begin the day with a fresh, clean slate. And remember, it's really hard for you to create, for you to produce, for you to move and function throughout the day-to-day if you are already built up with so much energy inside. You have to have different channels to send out your energy, to clear, to release, to regenerate your energy. That way, you actually can have space to take up more energy. I hope that makes sense. Tip number 2. The second spiritual habit that I had formed is beginning every day with fruit or natural foods. Now, I find that this is very important. I talk about this in my book, but I'm not a health nutritionist or anything by any means. However, I think it's very important to begin the day with grounding foods. I think it's very important to also begin the day with feeling light, with nothing too heavy. You actually will have more energy throughout the day than if you were to have a big, grand breakfast. Sometimes it can weigh you down. And it's about what you're consuming too, obviously. I think it's very important to begin the day being most centered within your third eye and having foods that help ground you and that help clarify your intuition. For me, I normally just go to Whole Foods and I get whatever fruit bowl that's 50% off on sale. It can be any sort of fruit, really. But start your day with that and leave it at that. And let yourself be hungry. There's a lot of ways you're going to feed yourself throughout your morning ritual as someone who's spiritual. You can feed yourself through meditation. You can feed yourself through all sorts of things. You can set intention into your water. That's also, or anything that you drink for that matter. That's also something that I do. That's just a little side tip, side habit. Let's move on to tip number 3. The third spiritual habit that completely changed my life is not eating 8 hours before bedtime. I know that might sound like a lot of time for someone. You might be like, when are you eating dinner? But I think the most important thing to note is it is important for you to get your daily nutrition. So take the responsibility of feeding yourself the way you need to, but your sleep, and this goes for everyone, spiritual or not, is the most important thing to your health, to being able to upgrade in your sleep. Since being spiritual, I've had a lot of upgrades in my sleep. My sleep has never been the same since I've started my spiritual journey. Before, I would go to bed, sleep through, have one dream, wake up late. Ever since being on my spiritual journey, I've woken up few times in the middle of the night, every night. And I've had several different dreams. And that is because my physical body is catching up with my energetic body. I'm having a lot of upgrades in the middle of the night. But I find that reducing the time frame of when I'm eating before bed, or I guess lengthening it, you should say, it not only helps me have better sleep because my body isn't spending any energy on digesting the food that's in my stomach, it's more focused on curating my sleep, but it helps clear out dead cells in the body. It's just better for your health. It can actually reverse your aging. There's a lot of health benefits to fasting before bedtime. You can do your research on it. But from a spiritual standpoint, I think I go into a deeper rest, and I think I have stronger upgrades. And I don't wake up as much in the middle of the night. However, my memory is a lot clearer when I wake up in the middle of the night. And that's good for writing down your dreams in your dream journal, which also is a lot of signs from the 5D. So have a dream journal for the side. That's a side habit that I have, or record it on your phone. Let's go on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, the fourth spiritual habit that completely changed my life is going for a daily night walk. Now, I started this when, again, I was in Florida. For context, prior to going to Florida with my mother, I was so afraid of the outside world. I think my father always told me that I should be afraid of the outside world because there's a lot of danger and there's just a lot of threats that lurk in the middle of the night. And while there's truth to that, I had to learn how to break away from the fear, break away from the conditioning, and forge my own path and learn how to live a life of my own. And just prove to myself that there is nothing to be afraid of. When I first began doing night walks, I had so much anxiety. If one person walked by me, even if they were completely on the other side of the street, I would think, they're probably being all concerned about me. Why would I be up this late? They're looking at my skin color. I'm a threat. They're going to call the police. All of these thoughts that weren't mine, you know? Even if there was headlights on the road, I also talk about this in my book, but I would get anxiety attacks, and I had never experienced anxiety attacks prior. I would get really hot, my skin would get really itchy, and it was so frustrating that I couldn't shake off that anxiety. There was nothing that I could do to just switch it off. But now I don't have that anymore because I've broken through the barrier, and I don't have social anxiety anymore. And I also don't have a fear of being out late. I can use my discernment with when it's safe to walk at night and when it's not. And I think that ultimately comes down to if you're feeling called to go for a walk or not. You're obviously always protected and guided. So if you feel called to go for a walk, observe your surroundings, but there's nothing to be afraid of because you felt called to go to the walk in the first place. And if you're not feeling called to walk one night, then maybe it's for the best. However, with all of that being said, daily night walks have completely changed my life. It is so important for me as someone who's super sensitive to energy and is constantly absorbing everything that's around me and internalizing it, to be able to, whether it's a quiet day or a busy day, to get really quiet with myself, to be out when no one else is out, when no one else is awake. It's so quiet. It's just me and my thoughts. And I can talk to myself about what I was experiencing today or over the last week, or I can walk in silence, whatever it is. It's the best way for me to go into my sleep and upgrade energetically, but also it is the best way and the best time to send out all of the energy that you had collected for the day. That way you can start fresh tomorrow. You can be an empty vessel to create more, to receive more. It's really hard to produce, to receive, to create when your vessel is already so full with energy. You have to release it. You have to have some way to release it. And going for a daily night walk is not only mentally and emotionally therapeutic, but it is physically too. On to the final and last tip. The fifth spiritual habit that completely changed my life I didn't do this immediately when I first started my spiritual journey. I was obviously working with crystals and setting intentions in them and doing spell work with my crystals. I don't remember exactly when I started sleeping with them, but I've been sleeping with them for a pretty long time now. I want to say, honestly, almost like a year, really, but I sleep with it on my chest. I typically sleep with rose quartz, and before I go to bed, I will normally just speak 3 words of intention into the crystal. I will kiss it, and I will kind of meditate with the crystal for a second, like really focus on sending my energy into the crystal, setting the intention, using my power. Your voice, your words is your power. Whatever you say does manifest. So really focus on saying it to the crystal. Focus on the feeling. Sit with it, mean it, and then sleep with it. Sometimes I move to my sides when I sleep and it'll fall over. That's all okay. You can put it under your pillow. You can put it beside you. You can put it directly on you. This is rose quartz. Obviously, you know what this is. For those of you who are familiar with crystals, it's all about love and healing. And I put this on my chest specifically for that area, just to open my heart space to receiving more. But I really do feel like sleeping with crystals has completely changed the game for me. I feel like it has helped me be consistent daily on setting an intention. And I think the best time to set an intention is at the very start of the day before you do anything or say anything, and at the very end of the day when it is all over. You had already experienced what you did today. Tomorrow's a new day, but let's end the day with this. You can sleep with any crystal you want, really. I've slept with all sorts of crystals, but I find myself always going to the rose quartz every single day. But energetically, you'll gravitate towards whatever you feel called to. Also, for my daily night walks, I always bring a crystal with me. I normally bring 2. I feel like if I bring more than 2, it's kind of energetic overload. I don't want to overload myself. I really just want to focus on a certain intention when I'm walking. So I'll either bring like rose quartz and citrine, rose quartz and amethyst, clear quartz, amethyst, whatever, really. If I feel like I need to protect myself from any evil eye, or I feel like there's a lot of spiritual attacks going on, I'll bring fluorite. It's really up to your discernment. You can do your research on all sorts of crystals. If you want me to make a video about crystals, please let me know. If there's anything else, any sorts of videos that you guys want, please let me know. But those are my 5 spiritual habits that have completely changed my life. You guys, thank you so much for watching. For more self-improvement tips, spiritual awakening, self-love guidance, please check out my ebook, The Alchemy of Pain to Power. It is available on my website, jacobgreen.store. I love you as always, and I will see you next time. Bye.